My dear Jem, we have played video games this week.
Yeah.
We have watched other people play video games this week.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's time for us to talk about watching other people play video games this week.
Let's do it.
The Gaming Lovers Podcast with Brendo and Jem.
And don't forget, people have watched us play video games, so we can talk about us talking about people watching us play video games.
Okay. G'day and welcome to The Gaming Lovers, episode 90.
90?
Yes, that's pretty cool. Only 10 episodes away from 100, which is usually kind of a big deal with this sort of stuff, right?
100.
Yes.
A centennial edition. No, it's not 100 years. That doesn't make sense. I am Brendo.
I'm Jem.
And I believe my mother, when her father turned 50, she went to write happy half century
Yep.
in his birthday card and may have accidentally written happy half cemetery. So the old man lived pretty long. He almost made that 100 years.
So she wasn't totally off the mark in a way.
What
that's
an
a bit
interesting
morbid.
start to the podcast.
Okay.
We are the Gaming Lovers, here to talk about all sorts of things this week.
Yes.
It's kind of a mixed bag. We have our usual gaming goals updates, what we have been playing.
Yes.
We have been doing a fundraising effort at the moment as well.
The Australian Bushfire Relief Open Challenge. So if you would like to help us here in Australia as we battle these bushfires, we're supporting the CFA, which is a volunteer firefighter association in our country, as well as other relief efforts for wildlife and for those that have lost their homes. There's so many areas that kind of really need help, and the world has just been so amazing in raising funds. We wanted to do our bit, and so we'll let you know very, very soon just how much we have raised so far for our fund and how close we are to our kind of small goal. It feels so small compared to what other people are raising, but I don't want it's not a competition.
Well,
Everybody helps.
celebrities can drop the big bank
Yes.
and throw out $500,000 here, $500,000 there, and who are we kidding? We're not worldwide. Well, we are worldwide celebrities. We established that when we figured out where all our downloads are coming from. But we are a much smaller.
Very small.
We're on the list of celebrities, but probably not near the top half. Let's just say. I believe that we do rank above one of the Hemsworths, though, as far as Australian celebrities.
Is it Larry Hemsworth from The Good Place?
It is at Larry Hemsworth.
The one that doesn't actually really exist. Sorry, guys. There's
That's
only 3.
a shame. But we want to do whatever we can to help. We have this podcast as a vehicle to push that initiative forward.
Yep.
And it has been successful to a degree so far already.
Yes. So thank you to those who have donated. We will get to that very, very soon. But this week has also been another big fundraising week with Games Done Quick.
Yes.
As they have raised a lot of money for Prevent Cancer Foundation?
Mm-hmm.
Foundation. I was going to say association. I'm like, that's not right. And they're doing such a great job. And as always, it's very entertaining to see them do speed runs. They actually did one this year, I believe, of Untitled Goose Game, which was our first gaming challenge for the Bushfire Relief Open Challenge. And boy, did they leave us looking like the slowest chomps ever.
We were looking like a goose. That is for sure.
Yes. I almost wish that we'd been able to see those speed runs and be like, oh, that's how you do it that fast. Okay, cool. And there's like glitches that you can like get through gates and walls and stuff I did not know. So now I wanted to go back and try that.
Where the goose head leads, the plump body will follow. That's what I've learned. That is what I've learned.
Not in real life though. It would just get stuck, the poor thing.
Well, before we get into all the specific details about our fundraising efforts, about Games Done Quick and the recommended viewing from the speedruns that we have greatly enjoyed over the past week, it is, of course, time for Gaming Goals. A bit more like a sports presenter.
Are you ready? Okay, for me, I haven't played any Jedi. I'm sorry. I may have got caught up with the bushfire relief and stuff, but
nobody can be angry at you for not playing a video game when you were doing something productive.
That's the card I'll play. But I did play Stardew Valley because, like I had said, I had that itch because they had new content added and I was like, I want to see what it is. So that's what I've been playing this week.
The big mega update.
Yes.
For Stardew Valley, a game that we bought on a impulse whim.
For like $10.
And you've probably pumped more hours into that than almost anything else in the past 5 years, I'd say.
Yeah, it's not quite at like Mass Effect or Dragon Age levels, but it's getting there. It was really fun to see a lot of the new structures and things that you can build. I have a lot of resources to go collect before I can actually build and try them out and see if they're any good. But it's kind of nice because my farm is kind of like half developed, so I have plenty of room still to implement a lot of new things.
That's good.
Because for people that have played this game for years, I imagine having this beautifully structured farm and then having all this new stuff, they wouldn't have room necessarily for it anymore. So you'd have to start from scratch. So I'm kind of in a sweet spot where I'm in a really good place to just add whatever extras I want to. I just got to keep getting stones.
Now, there's not just new content as far as new buildings, new habitats.
Things to farm, yeah.
Yeah. There are a lot of quality of life updates, I believe, as well.
Yes. So they've got interactions. There's ways to skip events, especially. The events never change year to year. So once you've done them once, they will always be the same. All the conversations will be the same. It gets a bit like Groundhog Day. So you kind of can... Sometimes I don't skip them now. I just keep farming. I just don't show. I'm very antisocial.
This is sounding a little too close to home. When someone has a big birthday, like it's their 30th birthday, you kind of feel like you have to show up. But when they throw their 31st birthday the year after, you start to weigh up the cost-benefit ratio to attending a social event. Is that just me?
It depends on the kind of event it is too. And I think the person and how close you are and how exhausting they are.
I do find it funny that even in a video game, we are the kind of people that a big event's coming up and we're like, oh, it'd be nice to go, but do I have to?
If it changed every time, if the people that lived in Stardew Valley grew, like the kids are permanent kids, they're like vampires.
Oh, is that the new content? Vampire quests.
So because it's kind of like frozen in time, which is good in some ways and bad in others. Like they still call and refer to you as a kid even if you've had a kid. You know what I mean? Like they lump you in with that. I'm like, that's a little weird for me. And so if you have a kid and in the game, it never grows up from infancy, so it's just always this added
that's terrible
thing that you have to keep going back and making sure, because your partner will not always necessarily stay to watch them while you're farming. They go off and do things,
so just
leave the kid alone in the house.
Now hang on a second, it's no secret that we have player 3 of the Gaming Lovers on the way.
Yes,
in a few months. And we intend on playing some games this year to prepare us for our first child. Parenthood, a new adventure, the DLC expansion of life on the way. Yep. But you're saying that in Stardew Valley, they remain a screaming infant for the entire life.
As far as I know, yep.
That was probably a bad choice. I'm sure you can love the child forever.
It would get exhausting after a while. I mean, that's probably one of the hardest stages. I mean, every stage has its challenges, but because in infancy, like, they just don't sleep regularly, like, that would just be hard. But it's also incredibly dangerous to leave a child that young unsupervised. You just don't do that. They come with you everywhere. So the fact that... Yeah, anyways, I know it's just a game, but... I
think the biggest problem is that you can't make an infant do child labour on your farm.
Okay, Albert.
Did I miss the point?
There's an episode in Community where they're in a video game and he manages to code it so that his kids turn into like tiny slaves, basically. Anyways. Funny.
Interesting.
It's funnier than how I just described it, but basically that's what you were just trying to propose then.
Okay.
Gah, gah, gah. So that's the noise they make. Anyway, so we've gotten really sidetracked.
From child slavery to the Empire eliminating child Jedis.
Oh.
I have finished Jedi Fallen Order.
Well done.
The latest Star Wars game, and overall, it does get 2 thumbs up. Now, they could have been enormous thumbs up if the game was just a little more stable. This is a perfect example of a game that is great, somewhere in that good to great range, and it could be excellent. It could be like game of the year. It could be greatest game of all time. Maybe not. But if it was just a little more solid in its programming. There are some glitches that I experienced in this run that were amusing. There was one that I captured, and it's on my YouTube channel, Hyper Brendo on YouTube, also on our Facebook page, where my lightsaber misfired and was very dangerously just pointing to the floor off my belt and swinging around. And you don't want that with a laser sword as you are trying to jump over crevices.
Yeah, let me just cut my leg off as I'm running.
Not advised.
No.
But there are multiple situations I faced in this game where I possibly outran the loading of the next area, and as soon as I went through a doorway, I just plummeted to the abyss.
Wow.
Fell through the map all the way to the floor because I was too darn fast at navigating the area I was in. That's not what you want.
No.
And speaking of navigating, the other major issue I had with this game, the 3D map, while it is helpful in some aspects, it does highlight areas you have not been to yet. It does highlight areas that you've just got the ability, so now you can go through them. They highlight as green. And it does show you what you cannot get through, which is red. Very simple, very nice, very helpful when you're like, I think I've been everywhere. You open the map, oh, there's a glowing yellow bit. Okay, that's where I have to go. The problem is, I had at least, I think, 3 occurrences where I wanted to get somewhere and the area that I had to progress through hadn't loaded. And I wasn't sure if I was just reading the map wrong, if I couldn't access it from that route anymore, if it was just a one-way trip, if I didn't know what was going on. There's a section where there's a scripted event, the floor breaks underneath you and you go on a big slide and you end up in a new area. Yep. And I'm like, okay, cool. I know the slide's between these 2 gaps. So I walk up to it, I check my map, the slide's underneath it, I jump down and I fall into the abyss. And I'm like, oh, that's a problem. So I reload, and after multiple attempts of trying to find out where this slide is, how far down is it? Maybe I just missed it to the side a little bit. I gave up, came back later, and the slide had completely loaded with all its textures and everything. So it wasn't my fault.
It was the game.
That I couldn't get down there. Now that was a big frustration.
Yeah.
And it's not game breaking, but it just makes you go, you know what? I'm not going to play you right now. I'm going to play something else. Now, the story, though. I play a lot of games purely for story.
Yes.
I have had no problem playing mechanically bad games for a great story. And I think that Jedi Fallen Order's story goes from strength to strength to strength. That's very, very good.
Yeah.
The fun thing that the character, Cal Kestis, who you play as, we've mentioned on this podcast, he feels like a blank slate. He's not very interesting. He's kind of bland. He grows. He has an amazing story arc. I quite enjoyed the ride that he was on. And I have been rewatching Gotham as well recently, where the very same actor appears and shows quite the range of acting chops. And when I paired that with the fact that Cal Kestis starts off bland, boring, flat delivery on a lot of lines, and grows and shows a greater range of anger, frustration, sadness, I could appreciate a good performance, and it was just amusing that I saw the exact same thing from the real actor in a show I was rewatching. So that's very cool. The range of characters in this game is good too. I laughed out loud quite a few times. BD1 is just the best droid ever, and I have a great affection for Star Wars droids. I've always liked R2-D2. I even like C-3PO and his whining HK-47 from Knights of the Old Republic is one of the greatest video game characters ever.
Oh, yeah.
I love gonk droids, and if you know what a gonk droid is, you get a big hug from me. But BD1 is a little badass guy. He does something in the story that I just went, oh, you're the best. And I will not give any spoilers because I have to say BD1, I want one.
I think that's pretty common from a lot of gamers. merchandise production people would do well, I think, to make some sort of either plush or pop vinyl of BD1. It would sell.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Now, the problem is I was faced with a dilemma that I frequently have in January, in particular this month, because coming up in a scarce few weeks is 4 in Feb.
Yes.
One of our favourite gaming initiatives and challenges of the year, where we try to bust some backlog titles in the 4 weeks of February. So I didn't want to start a new game that was too long and would overrun into February and be forgotten about, like poor Yakuza 0 was last year. Poor Yakuza 0. Just got abandoned and was basically never played again. So I wanted a game that would be able to be beaten, sort of in the 20 to 30 hour range, that is achievable in the few weeks that we have left.
Mm-hmm.
I had Death Stranding available to me.
It's a little bit too big for that time frame.
A little bit too big. I had quite a few Kingdom Hearts games that are on the chopping block. Maybe still a little bit too long. So I decided to go with something a little shorter, a little more linear, but in a way not so linear. And I will talk more about this title in particular next week, because I've rattled on a lot about Jedi Fallen Order. I don't want gaming goals to go for 50 minutes. But I started a game that possibly not many people who are listening to this recording will know about. And it is called AI. Written AI, pronounced I, The Somnium Files. A video game from one of my favourite directors, the director of the Zero Escape series. Very cool, and I have been enjoying it. I love a good detective story. I love a bad detective story, but I love a good detective story even more, and it is a little bit twisty and turny and very cool. And a full report on my enjoyment of that title next week.
And it has a lot of other, like, anime video game Easter eggs.
Yes.
In that short time I was sitting next to you while you were playing it, I think there was a reference to Monokuma and also to Steins Gate.
Yes.
So, yeah, I think if you love that genre or love just any Japanese video games, you will enjoy this.
And inside this game, the most popular video game around is a game called Shovel Forge, which has a pixelated pickaxe as its icon. And in Shovel Forge, you can build worlds of pixelated blocks.
Worlds within worlds.
It's amazing. It's such an original idea. I love when games and anime and stuff has their own, like, Whack-Donalds and things like that. Just the knockoff brand.
I love Whack-Donalds. Such a craving for Whack-Donalds. Oh, dear. All right. So, enjoying that so far?
Very much enjoying that so far. Thankfully, when you have high expectations for a game before you even start it, before it's even out, I like when games feel like they're going to achieve them while you're still very early in the game.
Yep. Well, I look forward to hearing more about that next week.
Very cool.
In the meantime, we're going to get to the Open Challenge update right after this.
Share the love. Follow us on Twitter at Brendo and Jem. That's BRENDOJEM.
Last week, we did a special episode all about video games and fundraising efforts. And we're kind of continuing a little bit of that theme. I guess it'll be ongoing for at least a segment or so each week of the month of January as we aim to raise about $1,000 for the Bushfire Relief Fund. We wanted to specifically also help kind of more local, smaller branches of charities here in Victoria, like the CFA, with volunteer firefighters, as well as some smaller wildlife funds. I think one of the most notable things I've seen recently is incredible places like the Dodo, which help raise awareness for a lot of rescue places worldwide, were supporting and raising money for Wire, which is a wildlife rescue in New South Wales, which is where Sydney is, for those who don't know Australian geography.
Yes. Just the state of Australia.
Yes, which is where the bushfires started. And they've raised like over $9 million just for that one charity alone, which was just phenomenal. And we're grateful for that. But poor Victoria wildlife not getting so much love.
No.
So we're trying to do our bit and make sure that it's spread out, because the fires are in multiple states now. I know South Australia is burning a bit too. And we want to just help in any way that we can. And we're so thankful to those who have already donated. We are currently sitting at $250 just from last week.
Very cool.
So, yay, thank you. We thank you to John for the very first 100. Mm-hmm. And then we had a second donation of 150 anonymously. So we've done our first challenge, which was the Untitled Goose Game. They wanted an Australian game.
Yep. To start off with, we said, please donate whatever you can.
Yes.
Through thegaminglovers.com.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have 100 or more, or if you collectively put together
100, yep.
100, then you can choose a game for us to stream live on our channel.
Yep.
Basically, if you donate $20 or more, you can tell us what you want us to play.
Yep.
And we'll still report back on the podcast with our experiences with whatever game. And that can be something fun, something from your childhood, something from our childhood, something nostalgic, something challenging. I'm no stranger to making video games unenjoyable.
Yes, make him play all the terrible games.
So if you donate pretty much any amount, you can ask us to play almost anything, and we will do it.
Yes.
$100 or more, we will live stream a game of your choice. And if we get a total donation of $1,000 or more over this month,
yes, by January 31st,
my dear Jem will be doing her part for the fundraising efforts. Let's put it that way.
I have promised at the end of last week's episode that I would play a horror game. So any donation that comes through, aside from the request if you're making a challenge for like an hour of streaming, you can also put in requests for what horror games you'd like to see me attempt to get through. And we will take those requests and suggestions into consideration. I'm hoping for something really short, so that way rip the Band-Aid off.
You're going to be watching some of these AGDQ runs and figure out which horror game you can beat.
How can I glitch? How can I get through the
12
walls?
12 minutes.
That's not a bad idea, actually. So the second donation that came through anonymously has said that they, for the first $100, because they know that means the live stream, they want me to choose a game. So it's streamer's choice, but they've requested me to do one. But I get to choose something happy and fluffy.
Yeah, that's right. It doesn't have to be horror game just yet.
No, I can choose. I will do Dragon Age and I'll spend the first hour just creating my character. Drive you all nuts. We'll lose money from that, I think. I won't do.
There, done that.
But they have also said they gave that extra $50 as incentive to basically encourage someone else, so that way if you couldn't afford to give like $100 but you can afford to give $50 towards the bushfire relief, that way if you donate at gaminglovers.com you get to choose the next streaming, because then we'll hit that $300 mark.
Very cool.
So that's really nice of them, so thank you, Anonymous. I don't think it's the actual like group Anonymous. It's just we don't know.
Well,
they didn't put their name.
We can't confirm nor deny.
I mean, they might. I don't know.
So with that first 100 that came in from John, he chose Untitled Goose Game, like you said.
Yeah, wanted something Australian
made.
Mm-hmm.
And we did an hour playing that, trying to do all the tasks we could.
And extra trophies was our goal.
Hidden tasks as well.
Mm-hmm. Very
fun, very enjoyable.
Didn't get through the whole thing in the hour. I kind of wish we had seen those speed runs. We would have been so much more efficient. But that said, we still had a lot of fun doing that. And it has been really great to just have, in this first week, we've already got some momentum behind us. So we're kind of, nearly a quarter of the way towards our goal.
Yep.
So that's pretty cool. I'm happy with the progress. So again, if you want to support, all the donations will be going straight towards the bushfire relief effort. We're not keeping anything. It's going towards our incredible firefighters that are bravely fighting those fires on the front lines, helping some local wildlife as well. Places like Hillsville Sanctuary that we aren't too far away from do an incredible job of rehabilitating a lot of injured wildlife and getting them back out into the wild. places like that we want to really support and help get Australia back up on its feet.
Very cool. And if we can do so by enjoying video games, all the better.
Exactly. Just some stats I want to throw your way. Because this bushfire season has been lasting a lot longer than I thought it did. I thought it started in November last year. It started in August.
Which is our winter.
It's nutso. So far, an estimated 10.7 million hectares or 26 million acres have been destroyed. Nearly 6,000 buildings, including over 2,000 homes, have been destroyed, and 29 people so far have been killed as of the 11th of January. So that hasn't been updated since. It might be more. Really unpleasant numbers to list off, but just the reality that our country is in at the moment. So, yeah, we're not asking for this money for ourselves. We want to help however we can. So every little bit counts. If you would like to donate and be part of the Open Challenge, head to thegaminglovers.com.
You're listening to the Gaming Lovers Podcast. Want to join the conversation? Visit thegaminglovers.com. Record your comment or question by clicking on the button on the right-hand side, and you could be featured in the next podcast.
Now on to some more charity efforts, but not from us this time.
Oh, no, definitely not.
I wish we'd raised this much money. It would be pretty amazing. But Games Done Quick always do a phenomenal job. I mean, they've obviously been doing this a lot longer than us.
Yes.
And they bring in great, proper speedrunners to put on amazing shows and stuff. Established gamers.
The best part is it's not just a 7-day live event. All the videos go on demand as well, which means you can enjoy any run from any Games Done Quick event over any year whenever you'd like. And to be honest, this wasn't originally going to be the plan for this week's podcast, but you and I have greatly enjoyed some of the runs that were featured this year.
Yes.
Awesome Games Done Quick 2020. They raised $3.13 million
So good.
for the Prevent Cancer Foundation. And top stuff. I mean, they obliterated their previous records and things like that. But I just love watching different styles of speedruns that are featured there. Some of them are just pure skill and talent and frame-perfect movements.
Oh, yeah.
To dodge enemies, to land a tricky jump, to perfectly route through a troublesome area with fluid ability. But then there's also other speedruns that are just showcases of how well you can break the game.
Yep. Oh my goodness. Someone did they weren't doing like the actual game, but just seeing how quick they could get the credits to roll on Untitled Goose Game in like 3 minutes. And I was just like, oh my gosh.
We played Untitled Goose Game for an hour and did most of the tasks in the game. The official all-goal speedrun was done in about 15 minutes.
Yes. It made us look so slow.
We were just shocked at how well that one ran. Then, because they hit the incentives for bonus donations, we got to see an amazing any percent. Just get the credits rolling by any means necessary. And it was done in 3 minutes. And I'm sure that House did not plan for someone to beat Untitled Goose Game in 3 minutes.
I don't think any developer plans for that to happen. But I'm sure they do find some amusement out of seeing stuff like that. I would. If I was a developer, I'd find it very funny.
Now, what was your thoughts on the 4 versus 4 Super Mario Maker 2 blind relay race?
I wish I could game that well, for starters. I suck at platform games. I'm terrible with timing my jumps and getting the right momentum to cover a jump. That's why, like, games like Banjo and Kazooie, you love. I suck so bad. I'm probably a little better than I used to be, but, like, they made me anxious as a kid because I was bad at them. And so I kind of went, no, this isn't my type of game. I like racing games. I like beat 'em ups. I was good at those sort of games and not platforming. So seeing other people just so fluidly, like it's nothing.
Yeah. We have greatly enjoyed a lot of race, head-to-head. It can be 2 players, it can be 4, all trying to beat a game as quickly as possible. And these are games that they have practiced and they have worked out every little exploit,
Yes.
every little minor time save trick in the book. And we've watched Banjo-Kazooie head-to-head races. I've watched Resident Evil 3 head-to-head races, and they're always enjoyable. But when it's a game that the players have never played before, like this Super Mario Maker 2, there are some horrific levels that people make in Super Mario Maker 2.
Oh my word, yes.
And these two teams, we had OK Boom Boom versus Pway My Wevel. 4-on-4 relay race. So when you die, you get up, switch seats, and the next player in your team of 4 takes the control. So you can't even fail on something and then immediately know what you failed on. You know the timing that you pushed the button. You don't get that until another 3 deaths have happened. So players doing levels they've never seen before with just devious traps and tricks set in them. These gamers are freaking incredible to watch.
Yes. I am in awe of pretty much every single speedrunner. Like, they're such good and precise games, especially for games like that, where your timing has to be like millisecond perfect. Because I'd throw in the towel or I'd throw the controller very quickly after failing games like that. Because especially when you think like the difficulty level in some of those Super Mario Maker games are basically like Super Meat Boy level difficult of just insane and punishing.
100% accurate.
And, you know, these guys who are so good at it, like you still see them and they're like learning each time they fail and getting a little bit better, but then having to go all the way back to the start. And, you know, I think I'd get flustered after a while and I'd just get frustrated that I'd make stupid mistakes after a while, you know, and it would get worse, not better.
So the first team that reaches the end within 8 minutes gets the point. And yeah, you can see them analysing the patterns of design. Okay, all these enemies, I can't touch the ground there or I'll die. So I have to knock this shell, bounce off the shell, land on the shell, which is above the enemies that I can't touch or I'll die. And then I can land on this, but that block falls and I'm dead. Okay, how do I get around that block that's falling? You just see the calculations working and they're communicating and sort of pitching ideas to each other as the player's actually playing. Man, I'm in awe of their skill. I think I was a good gamer at one point in my life, but I think on the scale of gamers, I've probably slipped down a few ranks, but these guys just make me look like an absolute chump.
To be fair, I think they play and have more time to play games than you do.
Very true. And they play the same game repeatedly.
Yes.
To the point of...
Like a lot of people that do esports, you know. Yes. The reason that they're in these leagues and that they win so much money is because that's all they play. And I think for us especially, we love so many games that we would get very sick, I think, of playing the same game over and over again. So yeah, that's why maybe I'm just making excuses as to why we're not making lots of money in esports.
We don't want games to feel like work.
Yes.
Is that right?
Well, we've done that and we've seen how that broke your brain. It might happen again. Who knows? Someone might challenge you to play Overcooked 2. Oh, please. Someone. I'm just putting that out there.
Another game that they have to adapt on the fly to, another run, a Legend of Zelda, Link to the Past randomizer, a modded version of a Link to the Past where the items you unlock are in random locations in the game. So you might play through the game normally and get the bombs at this location. But when you play this game, it might not be the bombs. It might be the dash shoes or something like that. And so you see these speedrunners on the live stage, marathoning, trying to go start to finish with an item that they are like, okay, if I get this item, I have to do it this way. If I get this one, okay, it's that one. Okay, I'm going to go the other path because I can't get through where I was going to go. So we're going to have to go around the other way and try to get another item. Okay, now it's this item. This is really bad. And that's kind of my favorite thing is when the gamers just state the phrase, okay, this is actually really bad.
It's like, oh no, it's added a whole minute. It is pretty funny. But like every second counts. Some of the quick saves and quick loads that they do to save 30 seconds and stuff, and you're just like, man, how did they figure these exploits out? I don't understand.
It's all part of the community.
Oh, definitely. But, like, how? Like, are they deliberately just trying different things? Like, if I shove this inanimate object, like a cone, through a wall, will I be able to go through the wall?
I know where you're going with this one.
So, one of the ones that we were watching was the Fallout anthology.
Yes.
All 5. I say 5 even though Fallout 4 was the last official one.
New Vegas.
No, 76. We don't count that. But New Vegas is in there. And I forget the guy's name.
Tomato Angus. And sometimes the G is silent, though.
Tomato Angus was streaming, and he got through the first 4 in the first hour.
Yes.
Of streaming, and then it took him another hour and 16 minutes just to do Fallout 4 because it's so complicated.
But, my goodness, complicated is right. How much did you enjoy that run, though? Because he was very entertaining.
Yes.
And he even brought along props to explain some of the glitches he was going to do. He was proving to you where you can go out of bounds, and then if you hit this point, you'll reset above it. So you try to go underneath the level, so then you appear back where you want to go, but that's not enough room to maneuver, so you got to go around this way. He's showing using his little diorama on how to do that. He had one of these couch members, Covert, put on multiple pairs of pants to illustrate live.
How fast you can go with extra pants.
Extra pants make you go faster, if you don't know. This is a real-life application. Multiple pants give you speed boosts.
I'm going to try that at the Olympics, eh? To see someone at the start, at the blocks, putting on
nice
extra
and chunky legs. My goodness me. But that Fallout 4 was the exact example. It still had precision movements, precision aiming and things like that, just like all the other games do. But the amount of tips and tricks that he had to do in a special sequence to break that game was awe-inspiring, that you could even remember the order to do everything over that hour and 20.
That's a lot to remember. It was overwhelming, just the amount of information he was like spitting out. It's like, okay, we're doing this, then we're doing this, then this, and it's just like, what?
Like you said, a big 4-minute explanation for a trick that's going to save him about 10 seconds.
Yes, it took him longer to explain that than to do it. And that was interesting because there are some speedruns you can watch and you can see how they did it and just copy it yourself if you wanted to. I don't think I would have a hope of trying to replicate anything that he did in that speedrun of Fallout 4. I'm just like, okay. I think the only thing I can remember is him grabbing safety cones and taking them to walls to get out of bounds. Mm-hmm. That's about all.
That's all you can remember?
Yeah.
I particularly liked when he shot the allies that he had to cut their dialogue short. They are going to say 8 things every time they start saying a sentence. He shoots them, which interrupts the thing and starts the next dialogue. So poor Tinker Tom got shot about 15 times. Mm-hmm. If he'd just keep his mouth shut, Tinker Tom.
There are some games that'll let you blitz through dialogue. Other games aren't so nice. I think part of me, I'm torn about that because, I love listening to the voice actors and I get mad at friends that, especially when they start a new game and then they skip the dialogue. I'm like, what are you, you're what? This is a new game you're playing and you're skipping the dialogue? Anyways, so yeah, it's been really fun watching people break games.
It's also been fun watching games break people because there was an attempt. Look, sometimes these speedruns, they're on a very tight schedule.
Oh, totally.
You have to give your estimate of what you can beat the game in. You have to have proved it in the past for you to get approved to go into their timetable, basically.
Totally.
It's 7 days, all rostered tighter than my work schedule is.
It's very good
to the minute
producing on their behalf, so good job.
Mm-hmm. There was a run of the game called Terraria by Badger, a guy who had never speedran at AGDQ before. Terraria had never been speedran at AGDQ before, and look, let's just say anything that could go wrong in this run did go wrong, and the poor fellow tried every trick in the book to get his game to finish, but alas, it had to be a mercy kill on the poor Terraria run. He still raised during that block $30,000. So
solid effort.
Did his job. It's still a very amusing run because even though he is having a incredible run of bad luck with random number generators and everything's just not spawning as it should, he has incredible positivity, very entertaining, which can make a difference between a boring run and a good run, is just the charisma of the runner themselves or the couch that are supporting them with extra comments. But that run is worth watching, I would say, just to see somebody try and adapt on the fly and just nothing clicks. Just nothing clicks.
I tell you what, though, I have learnt a lot over the years of watching GDQ. As hard as it is to see them break some of my favourite games, because a lot of the time, like in Mass Effect or Dragon Age, it means they don't recruit my favourite characters. Like, they skip past them.
Yes.
And I'm like, no. So it's fascinating to see all the different ways, whether it is using broken levels or an exploit with someone's powers or quick loads and quick saves. So there's just the list is endless of just different and really innovative ways of getting through these games stupidly fast.
Mm-hmm. And again, sometimes things go well. Things don't go so well, and sometimes things appear not to go so well, but it's all part of the plan. The runner Blood Thunder, who was doing a Bioshock run for several times over his speedrunning career, he has been featured at a Games Done Quick, and while he was attempting a glitch to get through and avoid a large dialogue cutscene section of Bioshock, the blue screen of death on the Windows PC showed up.
Oh.
And that is basically a run ender if that happens because you've just crashed the computer. But a second or two after this blue screen showed up and hands on heads and the whole crowd gasp in despair, the screen fades to black and fades back in with the intro to Skyrim, referencing the classic meme that has taken the internet by storm since Skyrim's arrival. And then everyone realised what happened. The poor guy had to apologise severely for scaring all the tech staff who thought, we're here to make sure everything keeps running, and this has happened. So that was...
He trolled them.
Oh my goodness, what a jerk. What a jerk. But
Nice.
It's not the first time he's thrown a little spanner in the works during his runs. So really, they should have been expecting it.
They won't be fooled again.
Are there any other runs that you're interested in watching that are on this ADGQ 2020 that you haven't had a chance to actually watch yet?
One that sounded interesting was the Super Mario 64 randomizer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay. Because any time you add random elements, obviously, to something, you know, as prepared as they can be, it doesn't mean things are going to go their way at all.
Very true. I love watching things like Dark Souls, Sekiro. There's a Sekiro speedrun with all memories, all everything. And that was towards the very end. So I haven't had a chance to watch that just yet, but that looks very exciting. And when you struggle through a game, like I did with Sekiro, and I watched somebody just casually waltz their way past every boss in that game, every encounter in that game like it's nothing, it may give me more frustration than the actual run did for me to play it. Isn't that fun?
Oh, it's been another great year and an amazing effort from Games Done Quick again. So, I don't know, I think maybe we need to up the ante here at the Open Challenge, raise 3 million?
3 million.
Let's do it.
And if that happens, will you beat Fire Emblem Three Houses in 1 hour and 33 minutes?
Is that a possibility?
Somebody did it on the ADGQ.
Well, I will need their help.
So yes, good fundraising effort. Nice work, ADGQ and all AGDQ. I can't get those letters in the right order, can I? They continuously beat their own records every year, every event. They've already booked in the January event for next year. We've got Summer Games Done Quick mid-year, which is, again, another whole barrel of fun. And I really enjoy watching incredible gamers. These guys are like the superheroes of the gaming community, and they're using their powers for good.
Absolutely. And if you want to use your gaming powers for good, head to thegaminglovers.com. Send us a challenge along with your donation for the Australian Bushfire relief efforts. So we'll keep you up to date on social media as that tally continues to grow, as well as any new games that we stream. I think it's about time that I have to decide what it is I'm going to play now that I have a challenge, but it's my choice. So much choice.
A future gaming choice about what we're going to play. That sounds like a segment I know that's coming up after this.
Share the love. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/The Gaming Lovers.
Decisions.
Yes, that was the fifth scenario in Resident Evil Outbreak. That's what it was called. Is that what you're playing? Is that a nice little hint that you're going to play Resident Evil Outbreak?
No. That to me is in the horror game category. So we need to hit that $1,000 mark by the end of Jan.
Oh, let me assure you, the loading screens in that game is the definition of horror. 100%. Gaming goals time. Before we decide what we're going to play in our own time, in our own preferences, what do you think you will play as part of our bushfire relief fundraising efforts?
I'm not sure. I think it needs to be something fun because I know most other challenges, if they do come my way, aren't going to be fun. So if I get to choose, I want it to be fun. It's tricky because the streaming challenge is just, an hour window for each $100, right? So I'm trying to think of something that fits that window of time really well. Any suggestions?
Well, you have been enjoying recently the new content in Stardew Valley. It's a game that you are very familiar with.
Yes.
You greatly enjoy.
Yes.
And you have been singing the praises of since you started it. So why don't you have a nice, relaxing session of Stardew Valley? Explain to people what you're doing, why you're doing it. You can either start from the start with a new farm, or you can continue to explore your existing file with the new stuff included.
Might be fun to start from scratch and just see how much I can get built in that hour. So a bit of a self-challenge in there.
Okay, cool.
All right, so that's what I will do this week, and I will also try to play more Jedi in my own time. That is my gaming goals for this week. What about you?
Well, primarily, I am going to be playing the Somnium Files. There is so much wordplay with the word I in that.
I bet.
I being AI, being eyeball, being AI being the word for love in Japan. There's so many different things of it. It's very confusing, but if I say I, it is pronounced AI. The Somnium Files. That's what just an I, will be playing. I'm so confused. I've confused myself. That's my primary title. I don't want to start juggling too many plates until February, where I'll be juggling 4 over 4 weeks. But my side game on my PS Vita, Yeast, Memories of Celceta, I am just before the final boss.
Nice.
And I'm trying to decide if I want to do every little bit of side content I can before I beat it. So it would set up a New Game Plus on Nightmare difficulty for the Platinum Trophy. I have to decide whether that's something I want to do immediately after beating it, or if I just want to take a breath and play something else portably. Plus, there's a whole bunch of new stuff out in Pokemon Sword and Shield, which we didn't even get to this episode. There's whole new content. Maybe that's a discussion for another day. It's going to be the Somnium Files. When I get my claws into a mystery like this, I love playing the game at home for an hour or two and then spending my day at work, on my breaks, on my meal break or whatever, thinking about it, thinking of the characters. Who could have done this? What's the relevance of this thing here? And then I come back and play the game, and because it's so complex, I'm nowhere near the mark, but it's fun to think about.
Absolutely. Plus, you might have some more challenges come your way before February the open challenge.
Very true.
So you do need to stay a bit flexible, mister.
Oh.
So, if you would like to challenge Brendo or myself as far as the open challenge with our Bushfire Relief Fund, head to thegaminglovers.com. We did get a donation that has enabled, if you have just $50 that you can donate, then the other 50 is covered, so you can include your challenge in there.
Yes.
Someone's kind of already put you halfway. So that was very kind of them. Otherwise, every $100 mark we reach as we head towards our goal of just $1,000 by the end of the month, then we will do a streaming of a different game. You can add your challenges in the comments as you donate, or you can just message us privately either on Twitter or on Facebook and let us know that you've given.
Very cool.
And we will make sure that we add that to our list of challenges and games we must do that week.
100% of donations go to bushfire relief efforts.
Yes.
Perfect. There we go.
thegaminglovers.com. We'll see you next week.
Have a lovely week and check out some of those speedruns because they are...
Maybe you need to do a speedrun. Challenge him to do a speedrun, everybody.
Oh, what would I even pick?
You can choose what he has to do at a speedrun. Super Meat Boy. Oh, okay. Sayonara.
No.
Thanks for listening to the Gaming Lovers Podcast. For more episodes or to watch some live stream gaming, visit thegaminglovers.com.